Most engineers team feels safe when test coverage is high. Dashboards are green, pipeline passes, but release still fail in production. Today I want to explain why test coverage does not prevent release failures and how it often creates false confidence instead. Green dashboards and hidden risk. The comforting number. Test coverage is one of the most reassuring numbers in engineering, 80%, 90%, sometimes even higher. This is what confidence usually look like. Green dashboards, passing metrics, everything looks healthy. But these signals only tell us what was treated, not what could still go wrong, and the gap is where risk hides. The assumption behind the coverage. So the assumption is simple. If most of the code is covered by test, the system should be safe to release. Coverage become a proxy for confidence. Test coverage is often treated like a shield. If coverage is high, we assume the system is protected. But coverage only proves one thing, that certain line of code were executed. It does not prove the system is safe. What test coverage really measures? So test coverage answers only one question: which line of code were executed during a test. It does not tell us if the right behavior were tested, if real user journey were exercised, if failure scenario were explored. Coverage tells us which code run. It does not tell us how the system behaves under real world condition. Performance, timing, data volume, dependencies, these behaviors are rarely covered even when coverage number looks impressive. So, where release failures actually come from? Most production failure comes from real user behavior, load and traffic patterns, timing and concurrency issues, data volume and data shape, partial outage and dependencies. Production is where users traffic spikes, third-party services, and failure meets. Most tests don't stimulate this reality, so team release software that is technically correct but operationally fragile. The hidden risk of high coverage. Teams often test what is easy to test, not what is risky to fail. Think of a test coverage like an iceberg. The visual part covered it coded looks reassuring, but below the surface is unseen risk, integrations, assumptions, recovery path, and system interactions. That's what usually cause release failure. So, where the real failure happens. Now imagine leadership making decision based on a single metric like coverage. When that happens, critical questions go unasked. What could still fail? How could be impacted? How confident are we in recovery? Coverage alone can't answer these questions. So many times or many teams treat coverage as a checklist. Items, when it checked, the release feels safe. But safety does not come from checking boxes. It comes from understanding risk, and coverage does not measure risk. So what is the right shift? So the better question is, which risks are covered? Coverage should support decision, not replace them. Tests are signals, not guarantees. Test coverage does not prevent release failures, false confidence does. When coverage is treated as safety, risk become invisible. And invisible risk is what surprised team in production. This is where engineering decision must change. If you want to understand where false confidence exists in your engineering process and how to replace it with real decision signals, follow Release IQ Insight.